Um, Hi. So I've been meaning to make this video for a while, but I've never got around to do it. So I guess I'm making this video today. So as the title says, I'm gonna show you how I set up my Assetto to look like in my videos. So I'm gonna assume that if you're watching this video, you already understand how Content Manager works and how Custom Shaders Patch works. I'm just gonna dive in just a little in CSP, right? So if you're not aware, there are a couple versions of CSP. So there is the free version. You could find it at acstuff.ru/patch. So this is the free version, but if you're looking for like a lot more advanced like particle effects and stuff like that, you could subscribe to this Ilya Yusupov Patreon. It's not really that expensive. It's just $5 a month, and you could unsubscribe anytime you want, and you could keep the files that you got it. This is the 0.1.79 preview 5 lights patch, and what it does is, like I said, it gives you that extra effects, but to make it look like how in my videos, you don't really need to get this one. I think the free one, this one, it's enough to do what it does, because what makes it looks good as the combination of soul and horizon shades. I'm gonna put the links in the description, right? So to use soul, you're gonna need a custom shaders patch 1.69 or later. What he meant, I guess 0.1. No, it's not 1.69, but I digress. So you're gonna need CSP to use soul. So what is soul? What does it do? So basically, soul, it overhauls the weather system for the game. Why does weather plays a role in how the game looks like? Because I think Assetto Corsa, it relies a lot on the skybox lighting or global illumination, stuff like that, to make the scene look better. This is soul. So there is you need to, if you already have the old version of souls, you just use this batch file. You just open Assetto Corsa, right click, browse local files, and if you want to uninstall the old versions, it's not really that hard. You just drag this soul uninstall batch file into the AC root directory and just run it, and then it's just gonna delete, it's just gonna delete everything for you. So after that, you only need to drag these 4 folders into the AC root folder. I'm not gonna do it right now because I already have it. Yeah, so it shows how to use the weather effects, right? So in the content manager, you could go to CSP and then go to weather effects, and then you could choose the scripts for the weather right here. So this is Soul 2.2 and Soul, right? Hey, this is post editing, not so punk. So I just remembered that if you install horizon shades, the default preset, it will mess with your weather effects settings. So after you install the horizon shades, you need to come back to this page and fix your weather script and the controller script. So that's just installing Soul. Is just as simple as that, and then you go to Assetto Corsa in apps, and then you have to enable the app. So this one, it says do not use rendering frequency above 2 faces per frame. I'm sorry. So as far as I've been doing it, it's not really that big of an issue. I guess it has to do with performance, I guess, because I'm using a 3070, but it doesn't really affect my performance that much. So if you look at Assetto Corsa in video right now, I'm currently using 6 faces per frame, and it still works fine for me. I don't know why. And yeah, so that is so for now. Not really that complicated. So you could see there are two folders. Number 3 you have to copy in AC root folder, so it shows in Assetto, so it's gonna drop in like a few post-process filters in Assetto. And then in the content manager you only have to just copy like a couple of presets, just like that. So if you don't know where to find your content manager, it's not really that hard. Just go to setting, content manager, and go to general, and you could just click open app data folder. So there you go, this is the folder that you need. You don't need to use the vanilla motion blur, so it also said in the oh my god, I'm sorry. So yeah, it also said in the horizon shade instruction. Where is right? So never activate this option as described in example image 8, which is the motion blur. The default preset that came with horizon shades, it's kind of iffy a little bit, because it says that the amount of blur is 100% and the noise is 200% and the quality is low. I'm gonna show you why that the default preset it's kind of wonky. So I'm gonna play this. So pay attention to the rear diffuser of the car, and pay attention to the motion blur effect. You could see like some sort of like a bending effects that for some reason when a car that have like very aggressive diffusers like this McLaren, there's always going to be like that bending, or like like the noise, it looks a bit jank. Reduce the amount of blur from 100 to 50%, and the noise from 200 to 100%. Now I'm in the replay, but with the reduced motion blur settings. So look at the difference. You should pay attention to the diffuser. So as you can see, the bending effects, it's still kind of there, but it's not really that it's not really that obvious. If you look back at the default settings, the horizon shades, for some reason it enables reflections effects by default. What is reflection effects? It says that it improves interior reflections by masking outside light once with silhouette of car interior. So what it does is that if you're driving in a cockpit, it will look nice, but if you are if you're trying to look at the replays, you should disable this effect, because it's gonna make the reflections of the car look a bit wonky. So the ambient occlusion, so if you're using the default preset from Horizon Shades, it's gonna enable the Horizon based ambient occlusion plus by Nvidia. I'm not saying that this AO it doesn't look good. It does look good, but it's a bit glitchy, so to speak. So if you look at around the car, the environment, you could look at here. The AO, for some reason, it pops in and out depending on the distance of the camera from the object itself. And despite of the effect looking good, is the fact that it pops in and out, it kind of make the scene look a bit wonky and jank. I just changed the effect from using the one from Nvidia. I just use the ASSAO by Intel, or ESO. I don't know. So, right. So, pay attention to the environment. So there are like little bit of pop-ins, but it occurs at the edges of your screen instead of like in right smack dab in the middle. So to me, using the ASSAO is a lot better than HBAO plus, because it doesn't occur too much. The AO, it doesn't pop in and out like we saw before. It does look a bit more, it's more faint than the HBAO plus, but the fact that it does not like pop in and out of the build, as you can see, like it only occurs at the edges. It doesn't occur like anywhere in the middle. So it's to me, I guess it's more stable than the HBAO by Nvidia. So that's why I'm using the ASSAO instead of that one. So yeah. So another effects that I use is the local reflection or screen space local reflections. This effect, it boils down to personal preference. Some people like it, some people don't really like it, but to me, I love it because it makes all the reflections look a bit sharper, a bit better, but it does come at a cost. Right, so right now I have enabled the screen space local reflections. It does gonna make everything look better. If you can see in the carbon parts of the car, it does reflect something from the environment, which it looks amazing. But it comes at a cost. It's gonna cost you like a bit of visual artifacts if the environment have reflective surfaces. Right, so right now I have enabled the screen space local reflections settings, and while it does make the reflections look a lot better, but it also gonna be, it also gonna looks weird if the environment have the reflective surfaces. So as we are going into right now, there is a lake at right in front of us, and you can see that the lake itself is reflecting the parts on our car, which it's this is like a very specific cases, but if you enable SSLR, the the lake beside us that should be reflecting the sky is gonna reflect the our banner. So yeah, it's a very look at this one. It's also reflecting the frame of the car, which it kind of look a bit janky, but it's a very it's a very specific kind of jank. So it's predictable. It's gonna happen at reflective surfaces. So if you're not planning to look at that, so yeah, I guess enabling screen space local reflection it's not really like a very buggy settings, but it works well. But yeah, that's just one thing that you have to keep in mind if you are using SSLR. But if you didn't use that, you don't have to deal with any kind of those kind of weird reflections. Right, so now I'm gonna go show you what is that makes my video looks like my video. Right, so this is my Assetto settings. Right, okay, as you can see, I'm only playing at 60 frames per second. It's a single player game, and I don't really care much for high frame rate, so I only cap it at 60, and I'm playing at 1080p with multi-sample anti-aliasing at 4. Keep in mind that MSAA is a very performance hungry settings. So you have to, try it out first. Yeah, the reflections is at 1K, and I don't plan to use 2K because that's gonna be too intense on my performance. And I'm using 6 faces per frame instead of 2. But keep in mind that Soul recommends that you only use 2 faces per frame, but I'm using 6 and it's working fine. So on the post processing, I'm using the Horizon Shades Real. So this one, it boils down to personal preferences. Some people like it like this, some people like it like that. But me personally, I prefer the Horizon Shades Real because it kind of have that natural tone to it. So the overall quality is maximum, glare quality maximum, depth of field at high. We don't really that much, we don't really need a lot that much higher than high. And then motion blur, as I said earlier, you don't need to enable it. The CSP, the Horizon Shade already have their own motion blur settings. And the mirror, it is defaulted at 128 times 512. I'm using 1K as well. I think this gonna impact your performance a bit, I'm not sure, but yeah, so those are my video settings. So now I'm gonna show you the importance of Soul and Horizon Shades. Why do they work in tandem together? So if you're using Soul Planner, so right now I'm using clear, but if I'm using the overcast clouds, it's gonna change the scene drastically, right? So you could see how just by changing the weather, the full lighting or the scene, it looks a lot different, right? So that's why I use Soul to control the weather of the game, and it changes how the game looks like depending on the weather that you chose. And another one is why I use Horizon Shades, because of the post processing filter or PP filter. So you could use the ones that came with Soul, but to me, the ones that came default with Soul, it looks a bit too harsh. So I mean, when it comes to PP filter, it boils down to your personal preferences. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Nothing is really wrong with that. But if you ask me, even the default Horizon Shade is not really give me that chef kiss for me. So I'm using the Horizon Shades Real. For some reason it strikes the balance between artistic, color grading and making it look natural at the same time. So that's why I think the Horizon Shades Real kind of looks best, because it looks more natural than the natural PP filter of the game. But then again, this one is, if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. So yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say. So the last thing that you need to change. All right. So this is also one of those. So this is also one of those settings that some people might like it, some people might not like it, but I personally like it, right? So if you go to settings, Assetto Corsa, and view and UI, so as you can see, I have set my G-forces to lateral to 200%, vertical 120%, and longitudinal to 200%. But what happens if I disable all of this? So let's look at a replay. Right, so this is how the camera looks like with all the G forces disabled. Right, so there are like a couple of, you know, like shakiness, I guess, but it's still quite rigid, so to speak. I enable this at let's see, this one is at 200, this one is at 120, this one is at also 200. So now I have enabled the G-forces settings, and you can see that the camera, it kind of reacts to the car's acceleration. You know, if it's accelerating, you can see that it goes a little bit further than the car, but if it's braking, you know, it goes closer to the car, like, you know, because there's some kind of G forces affecting the camera's, you know, position. So it's just, you know, it's a small thing. Some people might like it, some people might not, but me personally, I kind of like it, you know, because it adds, you know, another layer to the realism of my replays. But yeah, so I guess that's it. I guess that's pretty much I think I've covered almost everything that I've, you know, that I want to show in this video, I guess. So yeah, I guess that's it. Bye. Don't forget to call your grandma and tell them that you love them. So yeah, you're welcome.